You've probably seen it before. The long-beaked mask, sharp eyes, and dark silhouette that almost looks like a crow walking on two legs. It's terrifying, instantly recognizable, yet strangely misunderstood. People assume it was simply some grotesque costume, but in truth it embodied the eerie mix of superstition and early science that defined an age of despair. These masks weren't random. Every detail was chosen with purpose. Today we'll uncover why plague doctors wore them, what strange meaning lay in the herbs and rituals they carried, and the chilling belief that the beak itself held powers beyond medicine. In the mid-14th century, Europe seemed to unravel almost overnight. The Black Death swept through towns so fast that entire households disappeared in days, and survivors lived under the toll of church bells counting each fresh grave. Cities carried painted red crosses on doors to mark the infected. People fled into the countryside in hope of safety, often carrying the pestilence with them. Doctors, priests, and barbers argued endlessly over what could possibly cause such suffering. Some blamed the alignment of planets. Others swore rot in the air was poisoning lungs. The leading theories were humors out of balance or miasma, corrupted air that leaked from swamps, corpses, or even the breath of the ill. Towns desperate for help began to hire special physicians, men known not for genius but for willingness to approach the dying when others ran. Their main duties weren't to cure but to witness, recording deaths, advising quarantines, and overseeing the afflicted with what meager remedies existed. It is here, between professional medicine and raw fear, that the plague doctor emerged, and his appearance, shaped as much by collective panic as by knowledge, would become one of the most unsettling images in history. The plague doctor did not dress like an ordinary physician. He wore a long waxed coat of heavy leather, tightly belted to keep sickness from seeping inside, paired with gloves, boots, and even goggles of glass. In his hand was a cane, less for support and more for maintaining distance from the sick. But it was the mask that turned him into a figure equal parts healer and omen. The mask's oval glass eyes reflected torchlight, while the curved beak jutted out nearly half a foot. To us, it seems animalistic, like a crow or raven drifting through the smoke of death. To people then, the bird shape had powerful layers. Birds were already linked with plague in European folklore. Carrion birds circled battlefields, scavengers presided over death, and sudden migrations were sometimes blamed for spreading disease. Seeing a doctor in that form mingled protection with grim symbolism, an omen walking into your home. Inside the beak, doctors packed herbs, spices, and petals. Common recipes included rosemary, cloves, lavender, juniper, and mint. Some added vinegar sponges or camphor crystals. To our noses, they'd smell like a strange mixture of a spice market and funeral offerings. The logic was not simply perfume. These plants were chosen because their sharp aromas were believed to drive away the bad air of miasma. Strong scent equaled strong defense. If the very atmosphere was poisoned, then a sweet-smelling barrier might hold the corruption back. The idea had a second, subtler layer. Folklore held that certain herbs could repel evil spirits just as effectively as disease. Lavender protected against witchcraft. Rosemary guarded the soul. Cloves banished demons lurking in the breath. So when a plague doctor moved through the streets, his mask wasn't only filtering air. It was performing a ritual ward, blending early epidemiology with folk magic. Seen from a distance, the result was nightmarish. A tall figure half-wrapped in leather, half bird, half man. His face hidden behind two glass eyes and a hollow beak stuffed with invisible charms. And yet beneath this barrier, he carried more than herbs. He carried rituals that sustained the illusion of safety in a collapsing world. The mask and garments created distance, but the doctors extended that distance with ritual. The cane they carried wasn't just a walking stick. It allowed them to prod swollen lymph nodes, lift blankets, or move bodies without ever laying bare hands on the sick. Townsfolk watching from windows saw less a humane physician and more a wooden wand prodding like an instrument of judgment. When they did offer treatment, it relied on a mix of traditional Galenic theory and desperate folk practice. Bloodletting was common, opening veins to release what was believed to be poisoned blood. Vinegar-soaked sponges were pressed to mouths or carried in hands to purify daily breath. Cups were heated and applied to skin in the process known as cupping, which was thought to draw illness outward. None of these worked, of course, but people wanted to see some action against an invisible enemy. Beyond physical methods lay charms and incantations. Some doctors recited prayers with every examination, not entirely for faith, but also because towns hired them with expectation of holy words. Small talismans, bits of scripture, or saint medallions were tucked within robes. Treatment and ritual melted together until even practical herbs doubled as both medicine and magic. Juniper smoke filled sick rooms not just to cleanse air, but to chase away malign forces, forming a ritual akin to exorcism. Local authorities sometimes demanded specific rites. In one town, aromatic woods were burned at street corners, their smoke billowing like offerings to unseen powers. In others, priests and plague doctors together recited psalms in public squares, convincing the population that structured words might cage chaos. These commands reveal that civic policy blurred into folk religion, with doctors serving as much in symbolic roles as medical ones. The fear that wrapped society gave symbolic weight to everything they did. To see the bird-masked doctor walking slowly through alleys was to witness not just a caretaker, but a figure both terrifying and strangely comforting. Someone who could endure what felt unendurable. He was half healer, half exorcist, one foot in medicine and one in folklore. These rituals left imprints. Villagers passed down stories of men with beaks like carrion birds who tapped corpses and muttered prayers. To later generations, the plague doctor seemed less like a real profession and more like a grim specter haunting memory. Proof that fear can transform ordinary people into living myths. And this fusion of belief and science is why the figure endures, not because of cures achieved, but because of the rituals that stitched him into legend. Today, the plague doctor costume lives more as a symbol than a memory. You see its long mask at masquerade festivals in Venice, in horror films, and even as popular Halloween costumes. What once was a tool of survival has become an icon of Gothic aesthetic, a figure recognized instantly as both eerie and theatrical. Yet beneath the costume's entertainment value lies the reminder of fear embodied. The beak and black coat encapsulate a society where science and superstition stood side by side. To later generations, it became the perfect emblem of medieval half-knowledge, a time when germs were unseen but evil spirits felt close enough to touch. Stories exaggerated the figure. Some claimed plague doctors wandered after death, cursed to roam city streets forever. Bird masks fused to their faces. In folklore retellings, they no longer treated patients at all but simply appeared as omens, warning of disaster to come. In this way, they became people's myths as much as their physicians, walking symbols of fear, protection, and fate. Even in practical medicine, echoes remained. The idea of protective masks, of filtering air against invisible danger, echoed centuries forward into modern hazmat suits and pandemic gear. What began as herbs packed into leather became, in spirit, the ancestor of respirators and visors. And in art and collective imagination, the doctor endures as death's crow, the human attempt to cage chaos under a bird's beak. So what we're left with is more than a piece of strange clothing. The plague doctor existed at the edge of human knowledge, where medicine, ritual, and storytelling collided. He wasn't simply treating bodies. He was embodying a society's desperate will to contain the uncontainable, stitching hope together with superstition. The mask itself has outlived its purpose because it was never just equipment. It was memory and myth given form, preserved because it speaks to that terrifying need we all share, to dress fear in something tangible. If you found this glimpse into the folklore of disease unsettling yet fascinating, subscribe to Fable Frontiers. Here, myth and history continually overlap, and the stories behind symbols like the plague doctor still echo with meaning. Join us for the next tale where forgotten beliefs reveal the hidden side of human history.